Roy, it will always be different because it's a 7-game cup competition, if you like. So you don't have to play brilliantly. You just have to have a master of moments, and that's what Messi is.
What all these great players do, particularly when they get a bit older, it is just about moments. It's that bit of end product. We talked about Messi, Ronaldo recently. It was his first touch that led to the goal. It was a brilliant finish. Other than that, he was very, very average. Produced that moment. He's now got 2 goals in 2 games, considering he's almost, people are saying he's finished. You can't write these players off. And we looked at Argentina, what they did show the second half, to be fair, I was looking, what kind of characters have you got? Because you're up against it. A lot of critics the last few days. They turned it around. They found a way to win the game. 2 bits of quality. Credit to the manager. Young manager made changes before the game. Just as important, made changes during the game. They got the job done. Those players and certainly the supporters will be feeling a lot better tonight.
Gary, we were very privileged. We were right behind Messi. We could see how good that first touch was. It's not a completely pure strike, but it's certainly a strike good enough as it arrows into the corner.
No, it's a finish that we've seen now from him so many times. To put that power on it with the strike. I mean, Roy's right. The last thing that leaves these great players is the precision in the finish. And you just look at Herrera. He does what midfielders may do. Messi just stops and he carries on running to protect that one at the edge of the box, and then he just can't get back to him, and he's punished. He's punished by an outstanding player, one of the greatest of all time. And Messi, to be fair, like you say, it is moments now. They can finish, and they're great goal scorers, but he gets that space. He just stands still, and Herrera just can't get back out to him. And the power, the accuracy is wonderful.
What you can't do as a midfielder defend, he's just had a breather at the wrong time. He just thought, I'll take a deep breath here, and the top players will punish it. You cannot have a breather. He's took a breather at the wrong time.
But, Joe, that's the experience, is that sometimes to stand still gives you a little bit of space on a football pitch.
He's almost counterintuitive for a player who played in that type of position. You know, you're told you have to connect with your team, get on the press at the right times, you know, make runs in behind. He does none of that. He walks around, rolls around, and I'm watching him, and he just walks into positions. And like Roy said, if you switch off, which you do at times in games, any other player in this competition wouldn't have punished you in that situation. But the touch and then the strike, it's just outstanding.
You liked Enzo Fernandez before the first game, and when he came on, he definitely gave them something. He gave them a bit more energy, a bit more purpose.
Yeah, I think he's perfect for this team because he's a box-to-box player. He's got energy, you know, and that's what you need, because you're carrying Messi off the ball. For all all the wax lyrical about what he does on the ball, you have to carry him. But he's also got this to his game, Poogs. He can finish and he can score goals. He's got a lovely strike on him. You know, one of them, he didn't do it in the first game. You know, a young player, maybe it was a bit too much for him, but that is an outstanding. If you look at the lovely angle, just straight leg, lifted, whipped.
And for all their set pieces tonight, it was really poor. I think that might have been one of the first short corners they took. And there you get quality.
You like the way they lined up, didn't you, towards the end?
Yeah, the first half I couldn't see a way for Argentina in terms of the overall competition. But I liked it when they went to 5 at the back. They did it at the start of the second half by dropping one of the midfield players in, but then they brought Romero on. All of a sudden, they looked a lot more aggressive. I thought the 3 in midfield looked a lot more they had a lot more energy. And with Alvarez then and Messi up front as a 2, you can actually build from a solid foundation, and then you've got the players up front who can actually deliver in moments, which is how Argentina are going to have to win this tournament if they're going to do it. But I thought I liked them a lot better when they went to that 5.
And we talk about, obviously, we go back to the importance of players off the bench. We've seen some games the last week, there's players come on and make no difference. The subs today came on and they brought a bit of energy, quality, and gave them that momentum. And after they got their first goal, they were never losing that game.
And after all the devastation of the first game, Argentina may well win the group now. That's the strength of their position, potentially after their win this evening. When we come back after the... And the curious thing is, Joe, that you saw Argentina, South American champions, beat Italy, the European champions, in the finalissima, as they called it, at Wembley in June, and they were really good. How do you compare that team with this team?
You can't. They was irresistible that day. Messi looked like he'd rolled back the clock 10 years. They was... You know, Martinez up front was doing the work of 2 men. Di Maria was outstanding that day. And at that moment, I thought they're going to be a real threat. But this team tonight, they look all over the place. The right back couldn't get the ball under control. They couldn't get Messi in the game. He's walking round. We're waiting for him to burst into it. But they've been really, really poor.
And Mexico have been happy to sit in, haven't they? Although, to be honest, a draw's not much use to them, and they need to try and score a goal at some stage. But nevertheless, that's what they did in the first half.
They'd be delighted, obviously protecting the middle of the park. Happy for Argentina to go wide. But we said before, but Mexico real problem scoring goals. But same for Argentina, 1 goal in 1.5 games. That was a penalty. Somebody, the player from Argentina, has been so poor. It's like watching a championship match. Really lack of quality. The manager's made 5 changes, but there's been no reaction to him. And obviously they can change in the second half. The supporters are doing everything they can to get behind both teams. The referee's been poor. He stopped starting the game. Need a reaction certainly in the second half. We need to see more quality from some outstanding players.
Gary, you've discovered an old player of yours in the Argentinian team.
Yeah, Rodrigo de Paul at Argentina, and I agree with what the lads have just said. You start to think that is this what Argentina are? I know they had a great run coming into the tournament, but you've watched them now for a game and a half, and it doesn't look like there's anything there. There's no pattern of play. There's no rhythm in what they're trying to do. Not quite sure. I mean, it's a massive about turn from the coach to drop 5 players after game 1, and they look like they're reeling from that, and they've got a job to do here. I mean, Mexico don't look like they've got anything ruthlessness in them. It was a really poor Argentina performance.
But there's really only one place to start, and that has got to be Lionel Messi, who was the difference today.
He was. In a game that, up until that point, let me just tell you, had it not been a World Cup game, everybody in the studio and everybody watching at home would have turned the channel because he had been awful. The tension and the ambience in the stadium sort of brought the level up, if you will, or the level of interest. But the game itself, the quality simply was not there. And it wasn't there from Argentina. It wasn't there from Mexico, who simply were trying not to lose. As for Lionel Messi, up until that point, the rhetoric would have been, he's walking around, he has been ineffective, he has been inefficient, he's not impacting the game. And then Mexico has a brilliant idea, and that is, let's leave Lionel Messi wide open, top of the 18-yard box, and in a moment of high tension, where Argentina needed it the most, Lionel Messi delivers. So whatever the conversation was up until that point, after that, Lionel Messi and Argentina became a different team. You can feel the release of that pressure, the release of that tension, what it meant to him, what it meant to Argentina, what it meant to the fans. Only one team was trying to win this game from there on out, and that was Argentina. Mexico, mommy. And I mean, oh, mommy. Going back to Lionel Messi, what a moment for him, and a moment that was needed. We talk about Lionel Messi and delivering big moments. This is delivering big moments.
It really was. Let's not forget, if Argentina lost this game, they were out. They were going home, Frank. And you could feel that tension building throughout the first half. Terrible opening 45 minutes. And as Ali said, right up until that Messi goal, it was a tense, horrible, ugly affair. But then that goal just changed everything.
It did, and first I want to congratulate the fans, because they put the atmosphere.
Yeah.
They gave the
best atmosphere we'd seen.
Yeah, and the rest, the best energy that you can get out of the fans, and especially for a World Cup final. But the problem, the players, they got carried away the wrong way. So they were trying to give too much energy maybe into it, making stupid fouls. On top of it, when it's all about, when I heard it was an aggressive game, no, it was all about faking, cheating, even lying to the ref. So on top of it, if you put an Italian ref, every time somebody's on the floor and gives a free kick, you have the worst first half of the maybe the entire World Cup history. As you said, I wanted to switch off the TV because I say that's not the kind of football I want to see. Yeah, you can be bad, but at least you try to play. Don't try to fool the entire world with your football and with your stupid pretending stuff. When I remember the captain of Mexico, Cuadrado, pretending that Lautaro Martinez hit him where his foot was like 2 feet away from his face. And I said, come on, you have to stop that. And the ref gave a free kick. Say, that's not the kind of football I like. It's true, exactly that when Messi scored, that was another game. Yeah. Suddenly, players start to think about playing football. And Argentina showed to the world that they were better than Mexico overall.
As Ali said, you could almost see the scripts being written.
Yeah.
Lost against Saudi Arabia. He was anonymous in that game. The penalty did nothing until that strike.
I mean, I know, and we'll get to Mexico in a minute, but it seems the only people who did not read that script were Tata, Martino and the Mexico squad, because their approach to the game was simply amazing to me in all the wrong ways. But to your point, Lionel Messi picks a ball up in space, sitting in the half spaces in between Mexican line of defense and their midfield. And even so, and as much as we'll criticize Mexico, he picks his ball up, somehow finds space, but is an awfully long way out and has to beat Ochoa with a strike that had to be exact. And it was. And in all honesty, I think the only player on the park who could have done that was Lionel Messi. And it speaks to his brilliance, that you afford him one opportunity, and that's what he produces, and that's all it takes to change the game and dare I say, change Argentina's own prospects around this World Cup. Well, while we sing Lionel Messi's praises, I think Mexico are due far more criticism.
Nate, talk us through it,
Yeah, I mean, it's a hugely disappointing day for Mexican soccer. The history against Argentina is clear, right? Knock Mexico out in 2006, 2010. I don't think very many Mexico fans came into this tournament thinking that they could beat Argentina. But after you see, what Saudi Arabia did, and you realize what's at stake, Mexico has a chance, a rare opportunity, a chance nobody saw coming to knock Argentina out. And this is Tata Martino's loss. I mean, Tata Martino was brought to Mexico. He's the highest paid coach in Mexican national team history. He's the 6th highest paid coach at this World Cup. He was brought for the big game, not to get him qualified, not to get him through the group phase, to, as Mexican fans always say, trascender, to get us to that next level, to that 5th game. And this is the game that you have to kind of get something out of if that's going to be the case. On top of that, it's the perfect matchup for Tata Martino. There is not a national team that he knows better. There's not a superstar that he knows better than Lionel Messi. And the way he set this team up is incredibly conservative, and also I think we have to point out something we have never really seen under Tata Martino. There's a few examples here and there of them playing with a line of 5 across the back, but they're in like friendly games, and when they did it, it looked horrible. So for him to do that in this game is shocking, and I think the particular decision that I will just never understand, and I know that, I'm the punter here, and I'll fully admit that. You got a guy like Edson Alvarez. Mexico does not have elite players. Chucky Lozano is maybe the closest thing at Napoli, to being an elite player. Edson Alvarez has been linked to Chelsea, to Manchester United. He's a day-in, day-out starter for Ajax. He is, I think it's not even really a question. He is the highest performing player in the Mexican pool. I don't care what tactics you do. How do you put out an 11 and not put in your best player at all in this game? I mean, it's unforgivable for me in that. And even if you can find a tactical reason to not put Edson Alvarez in through the first 45 minutes, your plan, you could say, worked. As you guys said, it was a horrible first half. If that's what Tata Martino wanted to reduce Mexico to, that's his call. Mexican fans don't like it. They want to see Mexico, if you're going to lose going head-to-head with Argentina and let the chips fall where they may. But if you're going to go for the 0-0, then at 60 minutes, when it's 0-0 and you've held on, I don't know, why don't you bring in the one holding midfielder who's going to continue to break up plays and maybe keep you in a 0-0? You bring Edson on. What happens? No, Tata Martino doesn't go to his bench first. Scaloni does. He makes his 2 changes at 63. At 64, the goal falls. And where does it fall? Oh, that's right. It's a pass right across the back line of Mexico's 4 defenders. And who would be there? That's right, the defensive midfielder. Edson Alvarez would have been there. Instead, Achacha's 10 yards behind. Nobody's around Lionel Messi. You can't give any player at the World Cup that much time. You definitely can't give Lionel Messi that kind of time. So for me, it's a tactical failure, and it's just more frustration for Mexican fans under Tata Martino.
Well, that brings us to the end of today's show. Thank you very much.